me go back to Senator McConnell earlier today on the Senate floor discussing the current situation. Play clip number 4, please.
These are the leadership skills of people who spent 2.5 months doing nothing and then complain they're short on time. That is the attitude that has gotten Democrats a self-created inflation crisis, border crisis, Afghanistan crisis, and free-falling favorability with the American people.
Now, let me explain what's going on here. There's a debt ceiling, which we are only allowed to borrow so much money by an act of Congress. And so once you bump up toward that, and I think it's $25 trillion, you have to raise the ceiling again. Well, here's what the Democrats wanted to do. They wanted to raise the debt ceiling without limit. I mean, unlimited. Now, consider the backdrop. We have a $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill. We have a 3.5, some say 4.2 human infrastructure bill. That's the reconciliation. And they want Republicans to go along with him in raising this debt ceiling without limit. That's the problem. They don't want to own this. I think we've got Senator Blackburn now connected. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
So, Senator, tell us, what is the latest on this offer made by the majority, the Republican leader to the Democrats for a temporary short-term raise of the debt ceiling?
Yes, you know, what they will have to do is come forward with the votes to deal with this. But Leader McConnell, in trying to move this along, he feels like that this is the best way for approaching this, keeping the government from moving into a default area. And this is his play, Tony, that he's going to push forward with. We will see what the details are going to be on this. But here is what we do know. The Democrats have not done their job. They've been kicking the can down the road. We're hearing that the House wants to roll everything into one vote. The infrastructure bill, the $3.5 trillion bill, the debt ceiling, take one vote, be done with it. And of course, in order to do that, Pelosi would have to do her self-executing rule and deeming trick that she will sometimes do. So that is the conversations that they are having. Of course, in the Senate, Leader McConnell, as you know very well, he is going to look at the long term and try to figure out what is going to be the best play for the country and for Senate Republicans. And that is what he has done with this. I'm sure that the rest of us will get the rest of the details as we move forward through the evening. I'm one of those. I'm against raising the debt ceiling. I am against giving the Democrats more money to spend. I do understand that the federal government has to have a mechanism for meeting their obligations, but a part of this ought to be the Democrats being forced to spend less. This business of $3.5 trillion, which is more like $5 trillion, on top of all the money that they have already spent this year, figuring out a way to handle the debt, to handle the foolishness that they have exercised and how they have shown disrespect for hardworking taxpayers, that is something that needs to be brought to an end.
Senator, I understand one of the issues here for the Democrats is they could do this through reconciliation without a single Republican vote. But if it goes into the reconciliation bill, they have to assign a number to it. They can't have an unlimited debt ceiling raise, which they're trying to get the Republicans to participate in. Two factors to that. One, there is some limit. But two, if in reconciliation they have to put a number, whether it's, up to 30 trillion, 35 trillion, whatever they pick, they own that number. And I think politically, they know that that's not good for them.
Well, you're right about that. And they do need to set that number. This business of Janet Yellen saying, oh, just to do away with the debt ceiling. This is ridiculous. The American people deserve to know what they're on the hook for. And having the Democrats assign that number is important because you have to look at the fact that they did 1.9 trillion in COVID relief. Their infrastructure bill, which is, as we know, not about infrastructure, which most of us did not support that. That's at 1.2 trillion. And then you've got Bernie's budget, 3.5, more likely $5 trillion. So they need to own the number of whatever it is that they're wanting to spend, and they need to level with the American people. This business of saying that it doesn't cost anything, that this $3.5 trillion bill doesn't cost anything, that is a lie. That may
It's
turn
an
out to be the
insult.
lie of the decade. You're right. It is an insult because they're going to raise taxes. They're going to raise taxes on people that are hardworking, lower income. There's that nicotine tax. They're going to raise marginal rates. Their numbers are not going to work when they say, oh, only people that have an income of $400,000 or more. Well, if you've got a couple and they own a small business, and they're bringing that in through their income tax filing, they could be bumping up against that number, even though they're only clearing, say, $50,000 a year. So what we know is that the Democrats are trying to, in one vote, turn us into a socialist nation. They want government control of your kids, of your health care. They want to look at your bank account for every activity that is over $600. Think about this.
Right.
And they're not going to give any wiggle room. So they need to own whatever it is they're going to do. I'm a no vote. I'm not going to help them with a single solitary thing.
Well, Senator, before we run out of time, let me move to another outrage. And that is one I think the Attorney General Merrick Garland has poked the bear on this one. You were in the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday, and the Deputy Attorney General, Lisa Monaco, you went after her based on the Justice Department now saying they're going after parents who show up at school board meetings as if they were criminals.
Oh, it is. This is one of those things. Mama bears and grandmother bears come out on this one, Tony. This is the most absurd thing. Yes, it is turning over the names of people that show up to engage in accountability with the school board, to find out about mandates, masks, to find out what their children are being taught or the type indoctrination that is taking place. I am so pleased that parents are showing up at these school board meetings and are challenging elected officials. These are people that are accountable to the people that elected them. And parents are going, hey, wait a minute. We don't like Zoom school, or we don't like these mandates, or stop teaching the 1619 project. Teach 1776. Stop teaching CRT. Right. Stop telling my child they're an oppressor or they're a victim. And people are they're showing up. So the unions, the teacher unions, sent this letter to the White House and DOJ. So then they get this memo from DOJ to the FBI to start going after parents, treating parents like they're domestic terrorists.
It's outrageous. Senator, we're out of time, but I know we're going to talk more about this in the coming days. Thanks so much for being with us.
You got it.
Stick with